Hey, welcome back. I'm Colton from Ankeny Van Builds, and today's video I'm going to show you how to install a bed frame into your van, as well as the sliding hardware for the table that's going to go in underneath the bed. So if you haven't already, before we get started, hit that subscribe button with the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of my future videos, and let's go ahead and start this video. So you can see here, I've already started this process, and what I have here are these strong tie framing members. You can find these in the framing section of Home Depot. They're super cheap, but they're also super strong. So I made sure I got the 2x6 to 2x4 connection. So I'm lining the first one right up on the edge of this 2x6. So this will be the front of the bed. And once you attach the framing hardware to the 2x6, you then cross screw through this little notch that it provides for you another screw to hold the 2x6 in place so that it is super strong. And for this I'm going to be using these Spax 1.5 inch construction screws. Okay, so I got all these in. I spaced them out 15 inches apart from each other, and I married that up on both sides. So then now what I'll do is I'll cut each 2x4 to length, measure out in between each one just in case the van's curved a little bit, but they should all be around 71 inches. And then if I had this right here, the 2x4 would not be flush with the end of this 2x6. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a strip of 3/4 inch plywood and screw my 2x4 into it vertically. So I'll go ahead and measure and cut those out. And then over here, I'm going to run my wiring across the top and connect it into the bus bar. So there it is with all the 2x4s in place for this bed frame. Next step is going to be ripping a bunch of 1/2 inch sheets of plywood and attaching them overlapping between each of these framing members. That way when we put the mattress on it, it's going to be a nice even surface area for the mattress to lay on, and there's not going to be any uneven spots. Okay, so before I actually start putting on these horizontal slots, I'm going to work on this table first. So this van's going to have a slide out table that comes across right here. If you notice, the bed frame is a little bit too low for that table to actually come out. So what I'm going to do is, for these undermount drawer slides, I'm going to notch out this 2x4 just high enough to where it brings it flush with that bed frame. And then I'm going to attach horizontally across either another 2x4 or a 3/4 inch plywood, something to attach those drawer slides to. And then I'll install the table to that. So right here is the undermount drawer slides that I'm going with. They're the Everbuilt 21 inch undermount drawer slides, and it attaches on either side with just some screws that it comes with. The table will sit on top like this, and it will be able to slide out and then push back in. This is the table. I just put this together. I attached it all using Kreg screws on the bottom and some wood glue in the middle. So to take into account the width of the table, the width of the drawer slides, and the width of the 3/4 inch plywood that I'm going to be using to mount it, I've made my lines here, and I'm just going to do a jigsaw to cut each of these out. Okay, so basically what I did here, after I notched these out, I attached some 3/4 inch plywood that runs along the back. They're honestly super easy to install. It's just a few screws along the edge. And then the way that these mount is there's these little hooks on the back. So with your table, and look how cool this table looks. This is real walnut that I put together. I will do a whole video on when I make the countertops. All the countertops are going to look like this. So I'll do a whole video on how I did this. But for these drawer slides, you notch out with just a drill bit a hole for those hooks to go into. And then on the bottom side, you have these latches, and that's what clips in to these drawer slides and locks it into place. So when you want to release it, you just pull on those handles and they'll come out. In fact, I'll just show you what that looks like. So you just grab your table, you line it up, you slide it along the rails, you make sure that the hooks go into the back and you hear that clip, and then when you pull it out, it comes out and it stops right where it should, giving you this awesome table. So there's plenty of room on both sides to sit down, and then you can use this table for whatever you need. The only issue now that I run into is that because I notched out this 2x4, it is not nearly as strong, and I'm afraid if you climbed up on this bed that this might crack, so I'll have to make some legs. I'll probably do a divider wall here on either side, but I want to keep the middle section open. Oh, and I also ran all my cables on the back side of this 2x4. Okay, so I got those two support legs in, and now I'm actually going to go ahead and rip all the 1/2-inch sheets of plywood to make the slats for this bed frame. So let's go ahead and get that done. So this is what it's looking like so far. I'm overlapping each one, so I'm doing a 2.5-inch spacer in between each slat, so that way when I start the next row, I can go ahead and overlap them, and I will continue that process along here. But the camera battery is about to die, so I'm gonna go ahead and plug this in while I finish this process up, and I'll see you guys after this is done. All right, so here is the bed frame, bed platform completely done. It looks pretty cool, honestly. It should support the weight of the mattress, no problem. Super strong. Now my next hurdle I need to tackle is this piece of walnut right here. So I need to notch out where the face frame of the table is going to go, and then on the back here, these screws are preventing it from going completely flush. So I'm going to need to find a mark to notch that part out, and then I have to find the correct size screw to go in from the back in order to not punch out the front of that face. So let's go ahead, make the measurements here. I'll cut this stuff out and then attach it. Okay, so if you didn't see that trick that I just did right there, I'm going to show you really quickly what I did. So I wanted to cut out something that looked just like this. This is basically going to be a drawer face for that slide out table. I wanted to cut this without having to use the jigsaw to do any curved cuts. I didn't really have any way of using a miter saw, but I did use the table saw. So first off, that riving knife in the back of the table saw, I took that off, which I know is a safety thing, but I'm not running any strips all the way through, so I'm not too worried about kickback. As I lowered the blade all the way till it was below the surface right here of the table saw, and I measured it out exactly where I wanted this straight cut on the top. And once I lined up with the fence, I clamped it to the fence, so that way when I'm bringing up the table saw blade through the middle, I'm not too worried about the teeth catching the wood and shooting it back. So I have it clamped, I'm holding on to it as I'm slowly bringing that table saw blade up. And then once that blade came up, I was able to see the line, and I already had my vertical lines cut right here and right here. So I would slowly bring it back until I got it to the edge of this line here and the edge of this line here. Now the only downside to that is on the back side, it'll leave a cut further than the angle you want, but this is going to be against my bed frame, so I'm not as worried about it, because then this is going to be the part that's showing, and then I can have this piece in here just like that, and it's almost like a hidden drawer face. So happy that turned out all right. If you don't know anything about walnut, you should know that it is extremely expensive, so doing tricks like that always kind of scare me. But let's go ahead and put this face frame on dry fit, and then we can sand it down and put our finish on it. So now to attach this to the actual table itself, I marked how high up it needs to go. I'm going to drill some pocket holes right here into this table. Between that and some glue, that's what's going to hold this face to the table, and it should look pretty nice. So take a look at this. All the finish is on. We got our cool slide out table there. Also, this walnut right here provides a little lip so that when we put our bed in, if we slam on the brakes, our bed isn't going to go sliding. So all in all, it's looking really great. And here's the exact reason why walnut is so expensive, because just look at how beautiful it is. Super rich, super dark. All it took was 2 coats of that boiled linseed oil, and it turned out awesome. So this is where I'm going to end this week's video. Next week we will tackle the countertops, and it's all going to be that same walnut stuff. I'll go in depth on how I finish it and all that stuff. So if you guys haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button with the notification bell so you don't miss out on that video. And on that, I'll see you guys next week. Peace.